Good morning, everyone. Welcome to just south of fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. My name's Braden, and we got a good show for you guys today.
And my name is Vienna and I'm joining you from Adelaide, Australia. And that's okay. I'm pretty far away, but I want to emphasize that this really is a global event.
Right. We are at Tripoli, Las Vegas' Springfest event, but people from all over the world and all over the country make their way out to this event. So it is a very group-minded and oriented project where people with a fascination with high-power rocketry gather here.
Now, I assume we're talking about people from all ages, young and young at heart. And speaking of young at heart, our good friend John Pretto is here to claim his Level 3 certification in rocketry. He's going to attempt to get to as close as possible to the flight ceiling as determined by Tripoli and the FAA.
Yep, that's the idea. We have a waiver here of about 15,000 feet. That's as high as we're allowed to go. And that's John's goal, is to do what we call scraping the waiver. Get as close as you can.
Wait a second, Braden. I hear you say Las Vegas Strip. But I have to say, there is nothing that I'm seeing right now that looks anything like the Strip that I'm familiar with. But can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so the actual Las Vegas Strip is about 40 minutes north of here, but if you could believe it or not, the closest road to where we are currently is Las Vegas Boulevard. It's just not the one you picture when you think of Las Vegas.
South of the Las Vegas Strip off of Interstate 15, you may have noticed the Seven Magic Mountains, an outdoor art installation installed in 2016. However, if you bother to look past the colored boulders, you'll see the Jean Dry Lake Bed. With an elevation of 2,772 feet, the Jean Dry Lake is a playa lake bed located just east of Jean, Nevada. Jean Lake is a popular filming location, including scenes in Casino, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and the hostage standoff scene in The Hangover. Playa lake beds form in the areas between mountain ranges where there's no potential outflow of water. These areas were previously valleys and are potentially filled with hundreds of feet of sediment from the surrounding mountains. Only the finest sediments, such as sand, silt, or clay, reach the center of the playa lake bed. In the event that water does flow into the dry lake bed, water leaves in one of two ways, either through evaporation or by sinking in and becoming groundwater. While it may look like there's no water at the dry lake, it could be closer than you think. Depending on the time of year and recent rainfall, water may be just a few feet down.
Well, if you have any questions for Pretto or words of encouragement for our crew, you can hashtag your posts on Twitter and Instagram with hashtag OHSpace22, or you can find us on Twitter at OHSpace2022. So we are about 2 miles from the Las Vegas Strip. That's a pretty short distance, isn't it, Braden?
Right, well, we're close to Las Vegas Boulevard, which technically is the Strip, but we're about 40 minutes south of the traditional Las Vegas Strip with all the hotels and fanfare. The closest road is Las Vegas Boulevard, but you're not going to see a casino from here.
So not the glitz and glam of the Las Vegas that we see on television.
Right, not quite, but it's a good place to be. I enjoy it.
Well, we said that we're here to see John Pretto launch his rocket. So besides there's a rocket launch, there's a lot of flight limitations with regards to this rocket launch. There's things and regulations that he has to meet, but also staying within certain limitations. Braden, can you talk to us about that?
Right. So we actually have what we call an FAA waiver, and the way you get one of those is dictated by nearest inhabited buildings and airline traffic and everything. Basically, you don't want a rocket landing on anybody's house or property, so that's why we're out here. We're trying to avoid that.
Right, I see. Well, we said we were here to see John reclaim his Level 3 certification, but besides a rocket launch, there is a huge crew doing quite a complicated broadcast. So, let's meet the crew.
Although the rules for the rocket launch are very clear, John has to build his rocket by himself, the rules for streaming the rocket launch are totally open, and John has called in every favor he has to make this broadcast happen. Besides the flight director, John Pretto, the crew is actually very extensive, and it would be difficult to mention them all. But to give you an idea, our executive producer for the broadcast today is Ky Gleason. He hails from the Pacific Northwest, Seattle to you and me, and working closely with Sky for the past several months are our producers, Josh Kaufman and Noah Sargent. Project manager and safety officer is Keenan Campbell, who drove in from Illinois this week. And then there is our security officer. He just likes to be called Jack. Not exactly sure where he goes back to when we're done here. Our live graphics producer is Tuomo Kolama, who flew in all the way from Finland to make sure all the on-screen graphics tell the story of the day. And stringing all of this together is our engineer in charge, 1F Jeff Keithley, and we'll be talking with him a little later. Many individuals and companies have donated incredible resources and time to make today happen. Please take a look at oh-space.com to see a complete list of contributors and all of our sponsors.
All right, there's definitely no shortage of people on hand for this task, but there's no shortage of equipment either, as you guys just saw. And it's kind of insane what's going on here, but let's check out a piece of that equipment. This is a Tesla Model X, and let's see what's going on in here. Stand clear. The gull-wing doors. We got Jeff right here. Jeff, how are you doing, man?
Oh, we're doing great. Things are rocking and really rolling well.
Right on. So you want to explain to us how you get all of this stuff to function out here when there's barely any cell service?
Oh, it was easy. We just plugged into that cactus. It's right around the corner over there, and it's working fine now.
Well, something about all the wires hanging out the front of this Tesla leads me to believe that that's not quite what's going on. You want to get a little more in depth on that?
Okay, so there are a few things. There was cell service in some areas out here. So we were going to combine with the LiveView unit that we have, which is a multi-cellular and multi-internet provider, be able to bond those signals together. So it basically takes everything, puts it together, sends it up to the cloud, and then we bring it into our master control cloud, and then we come down into the overall I guess we'd call it, it's brought down and then it's broken back and put back together so that way, whenever it's put back together, it could go out to the internet and be a one continuous stream. Now, that was a simple thing to do if we had cell service, but we didn't have cell service out here. So we actually leveraged Starlinks. We have 2 satellites that are pointing up right now, and those Starlinks are going to the satellite, bringing us internet back and forth, because it's a two-way thing, right? And then when it comes back down, we're bonding that with the LiveView and one cell service. So out of everything that we could possibly do, we were able to make it work. And it wasn't a little thing. It was kind of complicated. And then we have the X here, which is in our master control. So we have our TriCaster TC2 in the back, and then all the cameras are coming over NDI. NDI is a network device interface, and so it's all network-based here. Everything here is all IP-based. And so then once it's IP-based, it comes back to the truck, and then it goes in the front of the X up here, and then it comes out of that to the very back, and then it goes to the rack in the back, and then it goes...
All right. So... I'd say I caught about 10% of that, but I understand that you know what you're doing. We're going to go back to things that I know, but I'm glad you know what you're doing.
Well, Braden, there's always something new to learn. And speaking of things that are new to learn, I wonder if many of our viewers tonight know about the pre-flight checks. Braden, can you give us a rundown of what happens pre-flight?
Well, as you can see right now, John is prepping the rocket. There's a bunch of different stuff that needs to happen. Obviously, we got parachutes. All the recovery gear needs to be made sure that this thing's going to land safely. But we got motors, we got electronics, and there's just so much going on. It can be quite overwhelming just with everything going on. And, you know, there's a lot of money tied up in these projects, and you don't want bad things to happen.
Hey, Braden, it sounds like you've got a bit of experience launching a rocket. Have you ever launched a rocket before, and when was your first time?
Yes, I've got quite a few flights under my belt. I started flying high-power rockets when I was about 13 with my dad, and haven't stopped since. I flew a rocket out here just yesterday, as a matter of fact.
That is really cool. And how did that rocket do?
It did mostly good. I have a kind of a tradition here of breaking things on landing, and I upheld it yesterday, but for the most part, we're doing good.
So you're talking about a rapid, unscheduled disassembly, am I right?
Well, not too rapid, thankfully, but parachute did bring it down a little fast, so we broke a fin, but it's nothing we can't fix.
All in good fun. I actually launched a couple of rockets as well when I was doing International Space University at the start of 2020. We went out to a race course about 2 hours north of the Adelaide Central Business District, and we made our own rockets. I think it took us about a week, and we spray painted it bright orange, and we put a picture of a kangaroo on the front because we could. Our team won the best design points, of course, but you know, design and prettiness aside, we did actually launch the rocket with a champagne glass inside, and our goal was to actually land it and have the champagne glass still intact. So that was a little challenge for us, and we succeeded. So we got down the rocket, the parachute brought it down not so rapidly, and it actually did land safely. Nothing was broken, which was nice. And yeah, I don't think we got points for altitude, but design's all that matters, right?
Gotcha. Well, I can't say that I've had the same good graces that you've had, but that is just part of it sometimes. But it was a good call to paint it orange. If you walk up and down the flight line, you'll see that there's a bunch of rockets painted very, very bright colors, and that's a very helpful thing when you're looking for something. Out here, it's not so bad, but in the grass, a bright color is going to save you.
Oh, you bet. All right, we don't have any questions yet on the hashtag OHSpace22. So if you are watching this stream, pop in some questions and hashtag it OHSpace22, and we would be happy to answer them right here on the flight line. All righty. Well, I did mention the term flight line, and you may wonder what that is. So let's have a look.
Between where the humans work and the rockets take off is the flight line, and that's where everything happens. The two main people who monitor the flight line head are the Range Safety Officer, or RSO, and the Launch Control Officer, or LCO. High-powered amateur rocketry is controlled by the global organization called Tripoli. At every launch, the RSO and LCO are assigned to ensure the safety of everyone involved. The RSO inspects every rocket prior to launch. He will also confirm that the range and the sky are clear and ready for liftoff. The LCO is the person who will actually announce who is launching, count down to the launch, and press the button that sends the rocket on its way. It's very important to respect all the safety procedures that are set in place to make sure everyone has a great day.
Alrighty, we have just got a question coming in from Cornbread Productions, and Cornbread asks, what are the flights... Let's start that again. What are the odds of success?
John, I got a question for you. We just got a question asked on the live stream. What are the odds of success here?
100%.
I like that attitude. I can't say it's statistically accurate, but I like the attitude.
That's a typical John Pretto answer for you. And hey, John, can you tell us how we recover the rocket?
Pretty confident.
All right, so we're talking about recovery here. So what do we got going on?
So we have a 48-inch Ky Michaelson, a Rocketman parachute as a drogue that will come out at apogee, and then the main is programmed for 1250 on the Telemega, and that's a 16-foot Rocketman parachute. And then the backup is set for 900 feet.
Right on. Do you want to tell us what a Telemega is?
Telemega is a flight computer. It's more than just an altimeter. It's got GPS on it. It's got an accelerometer on it. It's got barometric pressure on it, and it broadcasts live telemetry, and it's right there. If you guys can see it underneath the table, it's got an antenna coming up. There's the antenna. There's the Telemega 5. It's got an antenna which transmits in the ham radio, so I had to get my ham radio license in order to fly this computer. And it transmits at 70 centimeter, and the receiver antenna is sitting over there. We get real-time data, and then that gets fed into the graphics package.
Right on. Sounds a little complicated, as usual, but it's looking good, and you guys focused over here getting it all situated.
Thank you, Braden. Braden, thank you very much.
Hey, John, clearly your rocket is the best looking, but I can see a lot of other brightly coloured rockets along the flight line there. So how many rockets are launching today in total?
I'm not sure. We're just, this is a regional launch, and so there's about 100 people out here with various different rockets. In our rocket garden, we have the Slim Jim, which is single 54 millimeter, and then Perry's rocket, which we launched in October, is a level 3 rocket. It's very similar to the OH Space rocket. The OH Space is a little fatter and a little taller than that rocket, but Perry did a fabulous job on that. I was in Cigar Aficionado magazine with the Cohiba.
Repeat the question, please.
And the question was about the specific brightly colored rockets in our rocket garden. And these are all rockets owned by staff and crew here. Mine, some are Perry's, and one's staff, and another one is staff. And so we created a nice little rocket garden here. It makes a great background for our set.
It looks pretty great, Pretto. I've got Alex Lindsay on the line here, and Alex wants to know, how high does the rocket go?
So the rocket comes at various different altitudes depending on the wind and depending on the weight. We had to add weight to this rocket last night after we got the motor. We didn't get the motor until late yesterday. It's loaded in the rocket. That caused the weight to shift, the center of gravity to shift backwards. At 11 o'clock last night, we had add significant amount of weight into the nose cone. So our altitude is going to be anywhere from 10,000 to 15, in that range.
That is pretty high and very impressive. I think the rocket that we launched went about 900 feet. But anyway, thanks, Pretto, for speaking to us. We're going to talk a little bit more about the location. Las Vegas is located in southern Nevada, in the high desert, but the OH Space crew is represented by members from not only in the States, but all around the world.
In early 2020, as the lockdown and pandemic went into full effect, several tech nerds from around the globe began to meet daily on Zoom in office hours, a live technology Q&A show hosted by Alex Lindsay. However, as time went on, this group of people began to form real relationships that, among other things, have grown into this event today, the Level 3 certification flight for John Pretto.
When Pretto said that he was going for his recertification, I said, hey Pretto, let me know and I'll be there.
When we started planning this little adventure, I knew that I could link a work trip in Denver with a trip to Vegas and a little bit of vacation. So all told, when we're all said and done, I've driven over 5,000 miles.
The rocket launch is all John. But the crew is all gathered here to create a live show. That's exciting.
Not only has the gang traveled from all over by car and plane and whatever, but some of the R&D has been going on really around the globe. There's representatives from Australia, Israel, Germany, England, like everywhere. It's great. South Africa. It really is a global community. We haven't actually totaled up all of the miles and time put into what we're doing here today, but it's pretty safe to say that John Pretto rolled out onto the lake bed with the largest entourage here.
Braden, what do you think is going through John's mind right now?
I'd say primarily his concern is getting the wiring right on all those electronics. It is a very easy thing to mess up, and it's definitely a situation for him that's not made easier by everybody pitching in and all this live streaming going on, but we believe in him. We think he's got it going on. But as far as rocketry goes, let's dip back into your experience a little bit here. What do you got going on in the rocket world, Vienna?
In the rocket world, well, I'm taking a break from the rocket world a little bit. I do dabble in a little bit of humans in space, so I'm talking more about the people that go into the rockets, but more on that later. Our rocket was a simple G-class motor that only went up about 900 feet, according to the altimeter, and I haven't launched anything since then, but I think I'd really love to get into it. What about you, Braden?
Oh, man. Well, I've been going pretty crazy with rocketry over the past couple of years. I flew my biggest one yet last year at LDRS. It was a 7.5-inch diameter rocket. It was about 12 feet tall, and it weighed 80 pounds when we put it on the pad. And just like John flying today, I flew it on an N-class motor and went about 6,500 feet because it was real chunky and a little windy.
So, did you say 7... How tall was it?
It was about 12 feet 4 inches.
12 feet. Well, how many bananas for scale do you reckon this rocket would fit?
I'd say
probably a number of these.
a good. That's a good question, actually. A good sized banana.
Enough bananas.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna say somewhere between 10 and 15.
Good call. And sometimes when we listen to stuff about rockets, we think about solid versus liquid motors. Have you used liquid fuel rockets before?
So liquid rockets are not something that you can fly at a Tripoli launch. Actually, they're a little less stable as far as some safety concerns go, and that is priority number one at Tripoli launches. So, but I actually have seen liquid rocket motors fly at a different launch site before.
That's pretty cool. But it's not something that you have ever done before?
No, the closest you could get to, there's motors called hybrids, and they use a separate oxidizer from plastic grains. So you have a tank, and it's not quite liquid, but it's about as close as you'll see at one of these launches. But personally, no, I don't have any experience unless you want to count water rockets. That is a liquid.
Oh, I think I've launched a water rocket before, so that means I'm qualified, right? You'll see me next year in Nevada.
Oh, perfect. Come on out. It's a little chilly right now, but...
We've got another question from the audience coming in, Braden. What time is the launch planned?
Well, that's actually a really good question. Based on the situation we were seeing with the wind forecast, I'd say it's planned for as soon as possible. I believe the FAA waiver opens at 9 a.m., and I'm not quite sure what time it is right now, but if John can have that rocket on the pad ready for them to push the button as soon as 9 a.m. hits, that's going to be ideal. The sooner the better, because obviously we don't want a bunch of wind.
Yeah, totally. Are there other weather events that have ever affected your rockets or could affect rockets in general?
Oh, yeah. There's I've had more rockets stay on the ground than I'd like to think about because of just things like wind. With Tripoli Rocketry Association, you're not allowed to fly in the wind above 20 miles an hour, which a lot of people won't get anywhere near that in the first place. But just for safety precautions, you don't want rockets tend to lean into the wind, and if you got really fast wind and a really slow rocket, you could have some big issues.
I'd imagine it would drift quite far. You'll probably be walking for a little while trying to find your rocket after that windstorm. But we've got another question coming in. What sort of materials do we add to the nose cone? Something that John mentioned before.
That's actually a good question. I'm not sure what they used, but pretty common practice is BBs. You shoot out of a BB gun. They're dense and small, so you can get a bunch of them, especially in a big nose cone like the one John's got. And you just follow it up with a bunch of epoxy to lock them all in place, and you got yourself some nose weight.
Rightio. Okay, that's really interesting. I think we used the epoxy to glue our rocket together, but we didn't put any weight in ours. We probably wanted to be as light as possible, but I think ours was pretty basic. I have another very important question for you, Braden, and for the flight line. Why is John the only guy working on his rocket right now?
Well, for one, there was a situation involved where John, who we were talking about, was doing his level 3, and to do your level 3, you have to have somebody witness your motor build. So John actually couldn't build his motor till yesterday when someone from the Tripoli Technical Advisory Panel was watching him build it. But he's got that situated, so he is just getting the rocket ready right now. And, some people are just a little more prepared than others, but that's all right.
Well, hopefully he doesn't get stage fright because a whole lot of eyes are watching him build that rocket right now.
Yeah, I can't say I'd be doing too great under the live pressure, but that's not my problem.
Please, Fenwick. All right.
Okay, it's December 5th, and I just dry fitted the rocket.
If you haven't guessed it already, putting together a rocket of this caliber is not a trivial task. John has been working on this build basically since the last launch that he and Perry Drake did back in October of 2021. The assembly of this rocket began in earnest back in early December, and he has been working on it ever since to get here today. Besides the engine tube, you have to think about how the rocket will follow the launch rail, as well as how you're going to deploy your parachutes. After all the sanding is completed, there is more sanding to do, and then after that, one more pass at some sanding, and then the rocket is off to be painted so that it looks great on the launch pad.
Today, the Telemega is connected.
John and the R&D team have taken things one step further by including a flight computer that not only will keep track of where the rocket is, how fast and how high it goes, but it will also broadcast all of that data back to master control so that we can follow along with the launch progress.
We're going to toss it back to the YouTube channel. We are inviting everybody to come over to the YouTube channel. We welcome over 100 people who are actually watching John build his rocket right now and are waiting with bated breath to see the anticipated launch of this rocket. And we're here with John right now, so let's check in with him.
John, I'm being told to ask you something about a McLaren.
A what? A McLaren?
Yeah, that's what I... Oh, that's my mistake. I'm not listening properly. The clearance is what I heard. I was excited to hear something about a rocket and a sports car. I'm a little let down. But so let's talk about the FAA window. We have a standing waiver here at Tripoli Vegas of around 4,100 feet, that's the limit you're allowed to fly to. But we have opportunities to get windows to fly higher. How do you do that?
So Kendall is the president of Tripoli. He wants us to get the rocket on the launch pad and then give him a thumbs up. He calls the tower over at McCarran, it's now called, I guess, Reed, Airport, and then we get a window for a high altitude shot, and that's how that works.
Perfect. Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts involved with it for sure, but we do have to make sure that airports and everybody around here knows we're out here because we can definitely run into some issues with some airplanes being up there, and we don't want those. But John, it looks like you put this thing together pretty quick. How was your Wildman building experience?
So I've had this kit sitting in my garage for 5 years, and we became reactivated and high-powered again last March. And then we started working on Perry's Level 3, the yellow one in the background. And then after that flew successfully in October at Oktoberfest, we started working on the OH space rocket, really doing the simulations in November, started construction in December, and the whole thing's cataloged on our website, on OH Space, on YouTube. I've got a playlist with, I think, 26 construction, and I memorialized the complete build. And then I have a time-lapse camera set up in my garage of the entire build as well.
All right, well, I have a question for you. I mean, it's not like really put that together. Are you slacking a little bit? Is it this normal to be putting this much effort into this right before you fly it?
Well, you got to do there's a lot of moving parts, right? And so there's the parachute. The motor was installed yesterday. The parachute is ready to go. We'll get the altimeter bay buttoned up. We'll put it in, and we'll be ready to go out.
Perfect. I got one last question for you, John. Are you getting hungry yet?
I'm not hungry at all. No appetite. No, zero appetite.
All right, well, maybe you're not hungry, but some people here might have been. At least they were until this morning, and there was a fantastic solution for that, as a matter of fact.
The OH Space crew has been working hard, and everyone knows you never cut corners when it comes to feeding your crew.
I wasn't very good at triangle.
Eric Price is our lead chef out here on the lake bed, and he's gone all out. Eric and his crew have brought in 75 pounds of meat, 60 pounds of produce, 15 pounds of snacks and craft services, and 60 gallons of water and other beverages. In addition to the scheduled meal service that Eric has provided, some of the crew that arrived earlier this week decided to have an overland-style cookout at sunset on Wednesday night before all the madness began. What have we learned from all this? It's simple. You always want to make sure you show up on launch day prepared and keep your crew well fed.
All right, Vienna. So I understand that you have a medical degree, and I was just kind of curious how that ties into the world of rocketry.
Sorry, Braden, I was just getting a little carried away with the food video there. I got my Vegemite ready, and I promise you this is the exact amount of Vegemite that you need to be able to sustain yourself every day. So Vegemite for the win. But anyway, speaking of sustaining bodies, let's talk about a bit of space medicine. I completely understand that it's weird to think about medicine versus rockets. What could they have in common? Well, the connection comes from when you start putting people into the rockets. And now, we're not doing this with John's rocket, but we do this in real life all around the world, and it's getting more and more commonplace to do that.
All right, interesting. Well, so what kind of what exactly would a space doctor be doing? I assume it's if astronauts get injured on the space station or wherever or whenever?
Well, it's not just about injuries. You wouldn't be slapping a Band-Aid on an astronaut and, call that a job well done. But that's some of the first things that people think about when they think about health in space. They think of, what about injuries? What about emergencies? But health in space starts from the flight line. The rockets have to be constructed in such a way that they allow for humans to accelerate at a safe rate. Now, Pretto's rocket is going to launch at a maximum of 7.6 Gs. Now, what is a G, you ask? A G, 1 G, is what we experience here on Earth, just standing. And, for example, Mars would be 1/3 G or 0.38 Gs. Now, Pretto's rocket, 7.8 G. That's 7.6, the amount of weight that you would feel just standing on Earth. And if you're not trained to fly at that amount of G, then you could pass out or you could lose your vision and become very disorientated, even between 4 and 6 Gs. So pilots in the Air Force have to train real hard for to be able to deal with these forces, and they can withstand up to 9 G sometimes. So it's quite a lot of training. But that's hypergravity.
That's crazy. That's a lot of stuff that you wouldn't really dive right into thinking about when it comes to space medical stuff. But what about microgravity?
So I'm going to use my friend Pura here, the space kangaroo, to demonstrate. Now, normally when we're standing up on Earth, right, we're pushing up against gravity. We're actually using our muscles and bones, even though we don't feel it. And our heart is working at a 1G acceleration as well. But as soon as we kind of go into microgravity, we're not using our bones and our muscles anymore, and our cardiovascular system isn't used to it. So our heart actually changes in shape. It becomes a sphere rather than a heart shape, and we get fluid shifts going up to the head, and we get bone mass loss and muscle mass loss. And that is a concern when you go back down to a gravity field like Earth, or when you land on Mars. For example, if there's an emergency in the first 24 hours of landing, then you need to be strong enough and well-conditioned enough to deal with that. Now, sounds like a lot of problems, but we also have a lot of solutions for that. Things like new exercise regimes and new skin suits, perhaps not unlike the one that Pura has over here, or artificial gravity, centrifuges in space that generate that 1G that humans are used to. So there's a lot of innovation happening, and it's helping more and more people of a greater variety of backgrounds and physical abilities to go into space, not just the fittest and the healthiest.
As it sounds like taking gravity away can be just as problematic in terms of causing health issues then, huh?
Absolutely. Whether it's microgravity or hypergravity, we need to do a lot more research to see how humans are going to withstand it. I mean, space pretty much wants to kill you, and we've got to protect ourselves from that. But Pretto's rocket may reach space, but we may fall short. And in the case that we fall short, I think there's a lot of room for him going to space for real, and that is really, really exciting. I think that's one of his goals.
Yeah, as far as I understand, that is one of his goals. That is not an easy task to achieve. There's only a handful of people who have ever actually managed to put a amateur rocket into space, and it's pretty up there. I believe 100 kilometers is the technical breaking point between Earth's atmosphere and getting into space.
Oh, I heard a bit of a burst there. Something's going on. Maybe some testing.
Yeah, I believe they said that was a drag race, which we got 2 rockets going at once. A lot of people like to ask how you win a rocket drag race, and the real answer you'll always hear from rocket people is you don't. Everyone wins when more than one rocket flies at once. But personally, I think whoever wins a drag race is first on the ground or first off the pad, or whichever one I come first.
Rightio. So whoever you're going for wins.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, there's no way to lose.
There is no way to lose. You hear that, everybody watching on the stream? There is no way you can possibly lose a rocket drag race. So get building your rockets, come over to Nevada, and join this awesome flight line.
Well, we are going to go to a video of the group that put the show on.
Sky was challenging everybody to determine what the story was. And the guys hit it out of the park. The story is the community. The story is not the rocket. The story is about the community.
I realized that community is king, and content is actually the honey that brings everybody together.
It's a community of people from all walks of life that came together to make everybody else better.
There comes a point where there is an emotional buy-in. When your friend calls you and says, my best friend just passed away. When your buddy calls you up and he says, hey, I need you. And you drop anything and everything to do that. Community is that emotional level.
Community is people with like minds, alike interests getting together and bringing each other up. I would love to help you. I would love to bring you up and help you not go through the same kind of pain and the trouble and the toil that we had to in the past, because we've been there already.
The real story is the relationships being built and the journeys that some people are taking. For Mr. Keenan Campbell, he's having to reflect and have a personal journey because of some life challenges that he has, but he's probably more excited than anybody else.
When things went bad for my life, I felt like I dealt with it better because I have all of these friends. While some I've never met in person, I still have them on a Zoom call. I see their face, they see my face, they see the sadness, they can tell in my voice how I'm doing. And I can't count how many messages I receive like, hey, that's, what you're going through is really bad. We're here for you.
What we are finding in office hours is that kind of community can happen across the screen, right? And that to me is fascinating. I don't have to sit in a booth with you and share a meal. I don't have to sit at a bar with you and share a drink. I don't have to sit on a dock or in a boat and cast fishing lines with you to care about you as a friend. I can sit here and I can talk to you and I can share your joys, I can share your victories, I can share your trials, I can share your tribulations. And those friendships, even over a screen, that to me is where it gets super interesting.
I mean, we know each other in a deeper way than maybe some families do. So I think that's the opportunity that we have to, like I said, take it to the next level.
All right. So we just got a great example of why we have safety restrictions here at the rocket launch, but let's talk about the safety around the camp. We got Keenan sitting over here, and what are we doing to keep everyone safe around here?
So, Braden, we have so much going on. This started, Wednesday. Our camp had to be staked down. Wednesday night, we had a dust storm that came through. We had awnings flying. Pretto has told us for days, hey guys, if it's not staked, it's gone. And we experienced that kind of on a dry run Wednesday night. Not only are the rockets dangerous, we have high propellant, we have explosives, black powder. So there's so many things that we're doing in the camp, not only the physical safety, but the safety of our crew. We want to make sure that everybody is doing things in a safe manner. You'll hear later that we're going to go through a step-by-step checklist with John to make sure that everything on the rocket is checked. Every bolt is tight, everything, and you know that. You've done rockets for years. So there's a safety component on the rocket side, plus we have other rocketeers out there that we have to be mindful of. Yesterday we had a call out because a rocket landed in our camp. So you've done this for 10 years. You understand the dangers of rocketing, but as a production crew, this is a lot of our first time seeing this type of event. So we have had the call outs, heads up, everybody, and we had one rocket land right in the camp.
Yeah, that's you'll get that a lot on these types of rocket launches. Generally, they're under parachute. I'd say about 95% of the time, but that's the ideal situation. But so how'd you guys react to that rocket coming in? Was that
so we called it out, we cleared the area, and we had multiple eyes on it. We wanted to make sure we knew where it was coming down. It was under parachute, so it wasn't as big of a concern, but we do have small children around, so we want to make sure we're looking for them, and we called it out, and we had everybody on eyes. So it came down pretty softly, but we have, luckily, the lawn dots were way out a little bit farther, so... but we did get to experience a couple lawn dart, which is, and I'm sure you're going to talk about that later, but a rocket that came down without a parachute and impaled itself into the lake bed. So those are our number one concern, is if we're seeing a high velocity deceleration, any type of adverse event, we want to make sure that we're really calling that out and clearing the area.
Yeah, we actually just saw one of those rockets coming down hot, so, but it's far away, it's out there, we're all safe, we're all good. I'm glad you guys are safe, and I'm glad you guys are taking these precautions, but I understand we might have a couple more questions coming in from the live stream, so let's talk to Vienna.
Absolutely. With all these precautions and these safety risks, it's good to see that Keenan is keeping us all safe. And there are a lot of people out there. In fact, how many people are at the event?
Oh, that's a good question. Generally, from a launch of this size, you'll see between 100 and 200 people, and we got a really good turnout for Springfest this year, so there should be a lot of cool flights and a lot of cool people.
I wonder if our numbers were boosted because of all the office hours people that flocked to Nevada. What do you think?
Yeah, they definitely added to the population of this rocket launch for sure. This is not something you see at a normal rocket launch.
Totally, and I see a lot of vehicles in our camp. How many vehicles are in the camp for looking at John's rocket specifically?
I couldn't tell you. If I had to guess, somewhere between 10 and 15, 2 RVs, I believe, and there's a lot going on.
Pretty sure there's a Dodge Ram somewhere in there as well.
Yeah, perfect. There's a Tesla Model X too. We saw that already, but
absolutely.
You know.
And we were talking before about how the wind can affect the rocket launches. What's the wind like at the moment, Braden?
Right now we got just a little bit of a breeze. It's just inconvenient enough because of the temperature, but as far as flying rockets goes, this is about as good as you're going to see out here on the Jean Dry Lake bed.
Okay. How many people from office hours are here?
I actually don't know. Between 25, I guess, is the definitive answer to that question. That's a lot of people.
That is quite a lot of people, a good support crowd. But talking back, I just wanted to ask another question about the wind and the telemetry. Can you explain what telemetry actually is and what that involves with this launch?
So the telemetry downlink, like we were talking about earlier when John showed us his altimeter over there, that is the data that it's going to show all of the data he was talking about, barometric pressure, altitude, speed, and all of that stuff. The telemetry part of it is the downlink back to the ground station that's going to bring you guys all the data that you're seeing on screen when the rocket actually takes off.
That's really interesting because the way that I talk about telemetry is with patients, and when we put a patient on telemetry, we're constantly measuring their heart rate and the electrical signals from their heart, called their ECG, and their respiratory rate and their blood pressure and all these things, and we're monitoring the patient's numbers because that tells us how the patient is doing. And I guess you could relate it a bit to the rocket, couldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. The rocket is the heart, if you want to put it in that perspective. That's a fun way to look at things. Rockets certainly have a lot of people's hearts out here.
Totally. And does that mean that the epoxy and the ball bearings are the brain?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I can't say I haven't fixed little cuts on myself with some epoxy or super glue, so it's all coming full circle.
And this is not medical advice, but I wouldn't actually advise you fixing your own brain with epoxy there. Just putting that out there, like,
yeah,
disclaimer.
I guess that's not something you should be saying to a doctor, is admitting to malpractice on yourself.
Let's not get HIPAA involved. We've got enough regulations going on with this launch here, and we're looking at the preview, and there's a whole lot going on. Are people getting ready to launch over there now?
Yeah, as you could hear probably in the background, we had a couple flights so far today, and it looks like there's a good amount of people with rockets getting ready to put them on the pad. So you can see right now, actually, there's a couple of people walking out to go pick up their rockets. One we just saw, unfortunately, come in without a parachute. That's never a fun walk.
That is unfortunate when that happens. Let's hope that the parachute from John's comes out. I wonder what color it is. Is it designed to match the blue and the white and the red?
I actually wasn't paying that much attention, if I'm honest with you. I was a little wrapped up in just the sheer firepower that's involved with these rockets taking off, and I know a lot of people are probably curious about what exactly is propelling these things and how much power they make, so we're going to roll a video giving you all the details you might want to know.
Rocket engines are rated with a letter of the alphabet, A through Z, and even beyond. An A-class engine has a power output of approximately 0.2 pounds of thrust. When designing a rocket, you want to achieve a 3-to-1 power-to-weight ratio. So if you have 0.2 pounds of thrust, you can shoot a rocket that weighs a little less than an ounce. But that's an A-class engine. Our rocket today weighs almost 80 pounds, well over 1,000 times as much as an A-class rocket. So, for today's launch, we are using an N-class engine. How much power does an N-class have? As you step up between each level of engine, you double the thrust with each step. What that means is that our N-class engine today is rated at 3,400 pounds of thrust. Effective rocket launches require a delicate balance of power, weight, and thrust. And using complex simulations and calculations, we can be pretty sure we will hit the flight ceiling that we have been cleared for today.
We're back, and yeah, so it looks like John is wrapping up getting the rocket put together. As far as I know, they are staging the truck that they'll be rolling out to the pad with, and getting ready to get that thing up in the air. As usual, there's some little hang-ups, and nothing ever quite goes as fast as you want it to with rocketry, but, well, except for the rocket, I guess. But, so we're getting it, everything's put together. John and the crew are almost ready to go put this thing on the pad. It's going to be crazy.
So we really are counting down and getting close to the launch. So, Braden, can you just go over there and check on how John's doing?
Yeah, let's go take a look at what's going on here. How are we looking over here, gentlemen?
Hey there. We're putting together the altimeter bay, which is the last piece of the puzzle. We're going to put the altimeter bay in, we'll check it, and then we'll load it on the truck. So, all right.
Right on. It's looking like it's getting pretty close over here. Perry and John are getting the electronics bay finished up, and all the wiring and everything looks to be mostly situated. Looks like they just got to screw a couple nuts and bolts back together, put the thing together, and get it out on the launch pad.
That is really, really exciting. So I'm assuming that John has been observed in building putting the motor into the rocket, because that was part of his certification, right?
Right. So when you buy a rocket motor, unless it's a pre-built, the disposable motor system is the Aerotech designation. We don't need to get too far into that, but when you buy a motor like the one John's using, it comes in a kit. You've got propellant grains, O-rings, and a liner, and a bunch of other stuff. And for doing a level 3 certification, you actually have to have a witness when you're putting the motor together, just to make sure everything's going properly and safe. We don't want anybody getting hurt. So we had Robert DeHate from Animal Motorworks actually watching as John put the motor together, and he got the a.ka, so now it's in the rocket and it's getting ready to go.
Fantastic. He got the a.ka, so he's go for launch, I guess.
Yep, it's getting real close, like we were saying. We can take... Oh, we got a truck coming through.
Dry Lake. And
here we go.
It's got a pretty cool logo on it.
As you can see, everything's getting pretty wild out here. It's a situation that's getting pretty tense. We're getting close. There's a lot going on, a lot of people watching. So, yeah, we're just, we're counting down.
So we are counting down to the main event, which is the countdown and the launch itself. How does it actually get triggered from the launch pad?
So there's actually a guy right out here. We watched the flight line and safety video. The launch control officer, he is in charge of pushing the button that's going to electronically ignite the rocket from a good distance away. I couldn't tell you exactly how far it is, but we actually had we were wondering about the video production, so we got Noah here, who's our production guy. So let's see what he's got to say. Do you need my mic, or you got?
I'll need yours. Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Braden. Yeah, hi, everybody. I'm Noah. I'm one of the production crew members here. We have a lot of things going on, as you can tell. We have all different productions, different people with different companies all coming together for this show. So I brought cameras and the trailer and some of the headsets that you see here. And so we're all across the place. We have 3 in our interview tents, right? So 3 cameras there. Roscoe's kind of organizing that and bringing those people together. I'm floating here as a producer with our handheld camera, and so we're covering that as well. And then we have two more cameras on the flight line that you'll see out there. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of camera involvement. I kind of thought I was going to get hurt earlier when I made the suggestion. I was like, I like simplicity. Whenever I can run just a GoPro And then it was like saying GoPro around here was a problem.
Yeah, we tend to not like the GoPros as well. They don't give us the same kind of outputs that we have. Our primary body is the Sony FS5. It gives us both HDMI and SDI out for that. And so most of our rig is an SDI-based system, but we are using NDI heavily for the TriCaster system, and that's Jeff's side of stuff, which is kind of interesting. HDMI tends to be the consumer side, and then SDI, NDI tends to be the professional grade equipment. But you brought a camera guy as well, right?
I did, yeah. You were kind of dipping back into, I was flashing back to Jeff telling me about the signals and everything there for a second. But I actually did have my cousin with me who's been flying rockets with me since he was probably 4 or 5 years old. And he got sucked back into the high power world, but he's also pretty good with a camera. I have my own YouTube channel, and I'm doing this, so he's going to film everything for me. So, yeah, that's going to be pretty good.
So question for you, what is on your channel? What does that look like?
We just build a bunch of high-power rockets, and I come out to events like this, and we I make long format, almost like mini documentary-style videos of a lot of the launches I attend, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's allowed me to put 2 hobbies of mine into one, and it's been a good time.
So in your experience, what's the difference between an event like this that we're doing and like the stuff that you've been to before, the events that you've gone to?
This is a pretty big launch. Like John was saying, this is considered a regional launch, so this is why we have such a big turnout. I'm from Boise, Idaho, so our launch site, we have a lot of really cool people there that do a lot of really cool stuff, but it's a pretty tight-knit group. On a good day, we'll have about 20 people out there. So it's pretty crazy to come to launches like this when there's just 100 people or 200 people. But yeah, so we're going to go back and check in with Vienna, but thanks for talking with us.
Thanks for having me. See you later.
All right, we are going to watch a video right now. It's going to be an interview with John and Ky Michaelson. Roll it.
John tells me that you got your start, your career in Hollywood. How did that come about?
Well, I started racing cars actually when I was 16 years old. Meanwhile, I was messing around with rockets, and one day I decided, I'm pulling that darn Hemi out of the back of that dragster and throwing a rocket in it. So we threw a hydrogen peroxide rocket motor in there and showed up at Union Grove, Wisconsin, and ended up setting the record right off the bat. Blew the doors off the jet cars and Ivo and all the guys. And before you know it, I'm being top billed, one of the highest paid guys in exhibition racing. And we started traveling the United States. And anyways, I ended up kind of setting up a headquarters at a friend's of mine's shop out there on the West Coast. And a stunt guy came in there and he says, can you weld this up for me? And I looked at it and I says, it was a catapult for throwing a guy up in the air with compressed air. And I says, who built this piece of junk? And he says, what do you mean? I said, man, you should use all aerospace fittings and, the solenoids, check valves and all that. And he says, I don't know what you're talking about. And I says, well, I mess around with rockets, so I really know rocket hardware really very well. So I ended up building him a catapult. Well, one thing with another led to another. Other guys started coming in. I'm building stuff for them. Before you know it, I'm on a movie set. Wasn't long after that, I got my explosive license for special effects. Went from stuntman, stunt coordinator, and that's how it happened. I'm all of a sudden working with some of the biggest names in the business, and it wasn't because I went and got educated or went to school for it or anything. I just kind of walked right into the door. But that's been my life. From one
Classic
thing to
example of being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's kind of the way it works. Yeah.
Tell me about the beginning of and I apologize. What do we call this? Are you guys Rocketeers? What do you call yourself?
I don't know. I call myself the Rocketman. I don't know. I'm Rocketeers. We're everything. When I was about 13 years old, I got my first chemistry set. It was a Gilbert chemistry set. In there, it showed you how to make black powder. Well, so, it went from firecrackers to bombs to rockets. And the best part, my mom went up to the local drugstore in the corner there. And it says, well, if my son comes up for any chemicals for his chemistry set, it's all right to sell them to him. Well, I lived on a block with like 30-some kids. Well, all of a sudden, man, we loved our firecrackers. We loved our bombs. And it wasn't long. We we accidentally ran into was a rocket when they started shooting down and blowing out the back end. And hence, that's where I got the name. And I've been messing with rockets all my life. I mean, I'm over 80 years old now, and I still mess around with rockets.
Where did you get your mechanical skills from?
Well, I don't know. I dropped out of school in ninth grade, totally illiterate, could not read, write, got married 16. I've just got a natural talent to work with my hand. And so everything I do is like prototypes. You build one, you learn from it, you go bigger, bigger, bigger. It's all through practical experience. And you'd be surprised how many things are based on common sense. But it's just like a prototype. You build one and you improve upon it. And rocketry is the same way. Yeah.
So, Ky, you're a little bit famous for being the first civilian, as I understand, to actually get a rocket into outer space. What made you take on that challenge?
I didn't know that if there's any laws, or I just figured for granted there's going to be some laws. But I thought, I think maybe I'll just go get a barge and go out in the ocean and fire this thing out in international waters. Well, later on, when I first got into and started doing the Tripoli stuff, I got my level 1, level 2, and then my third rocket that I built was a P motor, which is a very large motor, and I showed up out to Salt Lake out to Black Rock with that, and I had I'm kind of a cocky kind of guy, and somebody says to me, how do you expect to get respect from your peers when you come out here with a rocket like that? It was all aluminum. Yeah, it looked like a missile. I mean, it looked like something that the government built. But anyways, billet, aluminum nose, and the way the whole thing was built. Well, he says, how do you expect your peers? I says, because I have no peers. And I walked away. Well, that thing actually blew up, and everybody's diving out of the trucks. And it was one of the best explosions they've ever had out there, actually. So a little bit later, this guy walks over to me. He says, oh, Ky, I feel so sorry. I says, for what? He said, well, your rocket blew up. I said, let me just tell you this. I work in the film business, and every time I push the button, it blows up. So I just kind of cocky little about it. And it didn't really bother me. But on the way home, I'm going, Ky, you really wanted to put that rocket up, man. So the next year, we came back out there with another P, and we had a successful flight with that, and with full recovery, which is just about unheard of back then. And so I started going head to toe with the FAA and this office back and forth. And I won't really get into all of that, but let me just tell you, there were some hard feelings there. And finally, I convinced Randy Repchek to come out to the Black Rock Desert. And it was kind of like high noon. And so I says, well, what's your main, first off, I says, how many stoplights you see on the way up? Is, well, none, of course. I said, because there's none, and there's nothing for 130,000, or over 100 miles, over 100 miles downrange. So Randy, I says, tell me how high I can fly out of here. He said 100,000 feet. That's basically when this thing came back in again. We're allowing AAA people to fly to 100,000 feet. I said, I'm leaving Sunday. And I says, we're pushing the button on Thursday. I said, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to push the button with or without the license. Well, at the time, it's a federal offense. That's 5 years of the slammer, $250,000 fine. And I will tell you this, I live a good lifestyle. I've worked hard all my life. I live in a nice home. I have a nice life. I have a family. But when I left my house on that Friday, I tell you, or I should say Sunday, I was prepared to go to jail for 5 years and pay the $250,000 fine because I was going to push that button. And anybody that knows me will tell you, if Ky says he's going to do something, believe me, it's going to take a lot to stop me.
Ky, from the moment that you said, I think I could get a rocket into space until doing it, how many years was that?
So that'd be from 96 until 2004.
Okay. So you talked about the rules and making it easier for the kids. What does Elon Musk and Branson and Bezos, what do those guys mean to the amateur rocket people?
Well, a lot. What they're doing is absolutely incredible. And they show our government, how much cheaper, how much better, how much faster that they are. And, anytime you let the government do something, they're going to just screw it up. I mean, when you got nothing but a bunch of attorneys that are running this country that don't really know about general life in general.
Yeah.
You know, they just don't have no hands-on, and hands-on is, that experience. You can't be educated with that. It's learning with your hands and learning experience, learning of making the right decisions, learning by making the wrong decisions. And believe me, I made a lot of wrong ones in my life, but boy, I've got a darn good education, I'll tell you that.
That's awesome. So, Ky, you've had an amazing life. Are there any goals or any achievements that you've wanted to do that you haven't done yet? And what's on the calendar? What's scheduled next?
Well, I want to see my son do exactly what I did, only go a little bit higher, maybe 80 miles, huh? But hopefully I'll be there sitting in the chair watching him.
Can I be on that team? I want to be on that team.
There you go, buddy. You got one to sign up with you right now.
Awesome. Well, hey, Ky, I don't want to take too much of your time. We got to wrap this up. I think John might have a few more questions for you, but thanks for chatting with us. All right.
Oh yeah, it's my pleasure.
That was such a wonderful video of a very experienced rocketeer. Now, Braden, if you can hear me, tell me what's going on the flight line at the moment.
Oh, I'm sorry, can you repeat that question? It was cutting out a little bit there.
That's all right. What was going on the flight line during that 10 minutes? Is there any delays? Are we on time? What's the go?
Well, they're actually putting the electronics bay in the rocket now. I can say I've experienced this position a lot of times, but the drill had to come out and some adjustments were made. But those adjustments are made now, so we can see that they're putting the electronics bay into the fin can here. That's the lower section of the rocket where the fins are and the motor goes. And that means it's about go time. We're connecting all the recovery gear, and we're getting pretty close to putting this thing out on the pad.
Perfect. That sounds really, really exciting. Just the final touches of the rocket, I see.
Yep, that's it. You just got to put the last bits and pieces together. There's a lot of finicky stuff that goes into flying a big, giant rocket like this with dual deployment electronics, and that's just something that comes with the territory.
Absolutely, and there's a whole lot of rockets lining up ready to go. So where does John's rocket fit in the schedule with all the others?
So it kind of just depends on who's on the pad at what point and doing what, but it's actually looking like, from what I'm seeing right now, there's some people getting out there getting ready to fly, but there's not a whole lot of people out there. And when you have electronics in a rocket, and it's a big rocket, everybody's excited about it, they'll generally prioritize it if it's sitting out there and we're cooking electronics batteries, and everybody's going to want to see a big end motor rocket go. So I know I want to.
Yeah, for sure. Are there other classes of motors in the rockets that are already on the flight line, and where does John's compare with everybody else's?
So far, actually, I think the biggest motor I've seen this weekend was Perry, who's in this camp as well. He flew a L motor in his bullpup that's actually sitting right behind me over there. But I wasn't listening too closely on the launches that we've had previously, but I'd say based on the sound of it, we got some J's and K's in there. So as far as I know, John's the only one flying an N this weekend, and I guess that puts him at the top, doesn't it?
That's pretty special. That is pretty special, and I wonder if he's feeling the pressure, or if he still is 100% confident that this will fly.
It's probably not a great time to ask him, if I'm honest with you, but there's a lot. Oh, there you go. There's a rocket launch. We got it coasting right over the top of us, but this is it's a stressful situation. There's a lot of mistakes that could be made with something like this. We got quick links attaching harnesses to parachutes and everything. You don't connect one of those, you lose a piece of the rocket. And especially on a certification flight, it's a whole debacle that you have to repeat this entire process to get a certification if you have yet to do that. So it's stressful, and it's extra stressful that it's a cert flight. So, but it's looking like John's holding it together for the most part, and we should be going out there soon.
Absolutely. He's got a very positive spirit. So I think, and he's being supported by 25 people from office hours, which is awesome and probably has never been seen before out on that desert plains. So I think with all the spirits of our friends from all over the world behind him, I think.
Yeah,
I can just see the nose cone going on now. That is pretty momentous.
Yeah, that's
just
great.
Finished building.
It's looking pretty well assembled right here. I don't want to, be too annoying for him right now, but this is part of the production, right? So we got the rocket going together. The upper section there's going to be 2 rivets, I believe, or maybe 3. I didn't count them, holding the thing together. So the parts that we don't want coming apart don't come apart, and the ones that do will. So, we got a flight card. I was wondering what John was a little bit worried about over there. Yeah, you got to tell them what you're flying. You got to have the info in front of them. So, yeah, that's a great sign, though. The flight card is the final step before you fly the thing. So they just got to fill that out and go put this thing on the pad, and we're go.
Right, so it's kind of like a final form that you fill out to say, yep, this is go for launch.
Yep, it's got your name and the motor you're flying, everything. That way they have everything to make the production annunciation, not production. I'm not. Let's see. I got up early this morning. It's anyway. It's a flight card. That's what it does. It's got all your information. They say the information and then they fly the rocket.
Fantastic. We've got some real good drone footage coming in too.
Yeah, this is about as ideal a location as you could imagine having for flying a drone. It's beautiful out here too. Like we were talking about with the wind is still not a concern right now. We got flags just moving a little bit. Makes it easy on the rocket people and the drone people.
Yeah, and I can see from above that owl tent is the bright yellow one, which is easy to see from the drone flight. So, yep, just another way that office hours just stands out.
Right, yeah. That goes back to the brightly colored rocket situation we were talking about. And that actually was super nice. I saw a bunch of people in the Discord chat working up to this going, hey, what campsite is it? And John just goes, oh, it's the one with the bright yellow tent. Makes it pretty easy to identify. Of course, you could also look for the giant production set and the RVs and all of the crew that we were discussing beforehand. That made it pretty easy for me. Oh, John's got the flight card filled out. Wow, your handwriting's pretty good, man.
I'm an engineer. We had to write back in the old days before computers.
Yeah, I dropped out of engineering school, so I guess that explains why my handwriting's so bad. All right, so you're good to go?
Still in training for... Yep, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Vienna.
I'll just say I was still in training to make my handwriting look like a doctor's, so I think I'm going the other direction.
Oh yeah, you gotta descend the hill. All right, it looks like we're getting ready to pick this rocket up. We got screwdrivers and things going together. Yeah, I actually once had a doctor's appointment that I left with a signature on a prescription, and everything was written out so beautifully that I was like, well, now I'm a little concerned. I'm not sure if you're actually a doctor or not. I might have come to the wrong place.
Yeah, but I think John's probably a real engineer with neat handwriting and getting a Go flight card, so that is pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see this thing. We don't see a whole lot of end motor flights at Tripoli Vegas launch. This is, like I said, we got usually a pretty low waiver, and with Collins and everything, you can get up there pretty high, but this is actually the first time I've seen an end motor fly at a Tripoli Vegas launch.
So is there a pre-flight checklist before this rocket launches? I mean, we've had so many steps up to now, and we've got to now check the flight to make sure it's all good.
Oh, absolutely. And if you're problematic like me, you'll keep that pre-flight checklist in your head and forget a bunch of stuff. But we just got done talking about how John's an engineer, so I imagine he's got everything written down, every I dotted and every T crossed. Oh, it's on an iPad.
We're ready for the
pre-flight. That's modern engineering right there. But yeah, they got a long list of everything they need to do to make sure this is going to go off without a hitch. And once you get everything all dotted and crossed off, and you just cross your fingers, and that's the best you can do.
All right, John, you ready for pre-flight?
Yes, sir.
All right. I think we are about to hear Keenan going through the checklist right now.
All right. Pre-flight checklist, OH Space 2022. Did you replace batteries?
Affirmative.
Test telemetrum and RRC3.
Affirmative.
Load 4 ejection charges for apogee.
Affirmative.
Wire electric matches to altimeter.
Affirmative.
Install altimeters into payload bay and align portholes.
Affirmative.
Install retaining screws for altimeter bay.
Yes.
Check main parachute brindle connections to nose cone and main airframe.
This is what matters.
Pack main recovery system and install nose cone. Install nose cone shear pins.
Check.
Shear pins are good.
Yep.
Install payload bay retainers.
Check.
Check drogue parachute brindle connections to motor section and main airframe.
Check.
Drogue recovery system is assembled.
Check.
Build N2200 PK reload.
Check.
Install motor into rocket with retainer.
Check.
Retainer is tight. Prepare igniter and make sure it will fit the motor.
Where is it? Yep, there it is. Igniter's connected right here.
Okay. Flight director, that concludes the pre-flight checklist. The next checklist will be from the pad.
We need a tall maker to go in the truck.
Tall maker to the pad. Pre-flight checklist is complete. Cross-check complete.
Where'd the scale go? It's on the ground.
All right, that sounds pretty good to me. Everything looks like it's getting ready to go. I don't know if you guys were paying attention there, but you heard Keenan say N2200 PK. We rolled the video earlier where we explained the rocket motor propulsion and everything like that and the impulse classes. But my favorite part about this motor is that PK, that's the color designation at the end, is going to have a big pinkish purple flame. And given the size of this motor, I'm going to get out of the way. They're putting it in this truck. Given the size of... Oh, it's looking. Oh, I see they're weighing it. Yeah, so big, heavy rocket, as you guys can see. It's about 12 feet long, and it's not something you can just, throw in the back of a Honda Civic. Well, you could, I guess, if you wanted to, but a little bit more ideal is this Dodge Ram that they've modified to accept the rocket and take it out to the pad and make it a little bit easier on themselves. So you can see they're loading it up onto the rack.
12 feet. So we were talking about 12 feet earlier, and for those of you watching at home who use the metric system, that's 15 bananas. But how much did that rocket weigh? Did you see?
I actually did not get the number. Hey, John, how much did it weigh?
80.
80 pounds. All right. Yep.
Right on.
Well, how many bananas is that?
It depends on which part of Australia you're from.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yep. All right. It's looking good. What a beautiful sight. We're up there.
Did you get a selfie right there? Put it on the hashtag OHSpace22, Instagram and Twitter. That is the money shot, I think, Braden. If you're going to be standing in front of a rocket, that's the one to stand in front of.
Yeah, that's going to be about where you'd want to be, I guess.
No, but I don't want to.
Sorry, it's so overwhelming going on over here. But yeah, it's everybody's worried about keeping the rocket up there and keeping everything strapped in. But it's coming together quick. I'm getting a little overwhelmed and excited. Like I was talking about that pink motor. I need to see this big one fly. See if it's worth the investment.
Speaking of overwhelmed and excited, if we light that rocket right now, Braden, do you reckon that Dodge Ram would hit a land speed record?
I don't know about a land speed record, but it'd probably be the fastest quarter mile a Ram's ever made. We might run into some issues afterwards, but yeah, it'd probably be pretty cool at the time.
Don't worry about the issues afterwards. You got to live for the present moment.
Yep. Yep. It's you got to live for the moment, like you said. Keep everything in perspective, and then, of course, primarily, you want to ask for forgiveness, not permission.
Absolutely. I can see some clouds in the sky there. It's probably making for a nice shady day, but how high are the clouds at the moment? Can you tell? And do you think the rocket will reach the clouds?
The clouds are very high up there, and that's actually ruled is you're not allowed to fly into the clouds, but that's not our call to make, and that's one of the handful of potential things that could keep this rocket on the ground. But the people running the rocket launch have all the data they need from all the weather services and everything, and if the clouds are high enough off the ground, they're going to tell us the clouds are high enough off the ground, and we're going to get this thing in the air.
Fantastic. And we are on the way to the launch pad, it looks like. That is a massive car, as I might say. It's like 2 tents worth. I don't know how many. we will see a launch pad checklist coming up.
All right, there you go. Like we said, we're getting rolling out there. The sun's coming out. It's getting warm and nice. Everything's coming together perfect. And we are getting ready to fly this motor.
I wonder if there are rules about how fast you can drive along a rocket range.
You know, that's an interesting debacle you run into in a lot of rocket launches. Generally through the flight line and where everybody's parking and everything, people are pretty respectful. But just last night we were having some issues with people speeding up and down the dry lake bed and running over all the cables and everything for the launch system. The Tripoli Vegas crew was not stoked on that one.
But certainly not the Dodge Ram. Never would the Dodge Ram exceed any speed limits ever.
No, it was actually quite... everyone here, the OAH space team, as I ran background checks and everything, no one's ever done anything wrong here ever before, as a matter of fact. So, couldn't possibly have been them.
Certainly not with that rocket on the top. I mean, you'd be giving it a run for its money if you actually lit that rocket.
Boy, this looks really janky.
Is that a stick scale?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Is that a stick for scale?
Oh.
Okay, now we're going to use these, so we're not going to scratch this. I know. Okay. Put this.
Like we were saying before, you know, everything can, things can get a little bit heated, and everybody's
on the pad,
get a little stressed out and
Yeah.
trying to get everything situated.
Yep.
But the rocket is almost there.
On the electronics, we'll call in the waiver.
Okay.
Do not want to scratch that nice wrap.
You got it. Copy.
So, Braden, when does the pre-check on the launch pad
You got it
start?
here.
Because I'd love to listen into that.
This is how they get all scratched
So
up.
generally what you want to do is, well, not generally anymore. Actually, I believe it's a rule that you don't turn your electronics on until the rocket is pointed up. So the order priority there is put the rocket on the pad, get it pointed at the sky, then you turn your electronics on before you put the igniter in the motor. Obviously, you don't want to do any of that stuff while the rocket's laying down, because if by some very slim chance, some form of static electricity or something triggers that igniter, you could have that thing going pretty far downrange, which is not ideal. We want it to go up, not sideways. So put it on the pad, point it up, then get it ready to go.
Right, that is the order of operations. Is that what they mean by ballistic trajectories?
Yeah, well, so ballistic recovery is actually what we saw a little bit ago when a rocket comes in with no parachute at all. Sometimes you get super lucky and your rocket will just start tumbling and you'll get a little bounce, maybe some broken stuff. But unfortunately, I do have some personal experience with ballistic recoveries, and that's when the rocket does exactly what it's designed to do, be very, very aerodynamic, and it comes down at its terminal velocity, and much like mine, sometimes you never see them again.
Well, that is a real shame, and hopefully that doesn't happen with this rocket. But that rocket looks pretty vertical to me. Sounds like they're going to be doing some launchpad checks.
Yep, it looks like John and crew got the thing pointed up, and we're getting ready to fly this thing. It is getting very close. It's looking pretty good even from out here. I like to paint my rockets so they look good from 10 feet or more, but John went a little over that 10-footer rule here, and it's looking good from 2 feet or 100 feet or 500 feet or as far out as you want to go.
I mean, 2,000 kilometers from the other side of the world looks pretty good.
Yeah, that's how you know it's a nice finish.
Yeah, but even the Australians can see it. I know, me too, but you know what happens from the land of the upside down, it stays in the land of the upside down.
All right, so as per Tripoli regulations require, this rocket is pretty far out there. I believe the pad to be 500 feet, as that is required for an end motor. Obviously, the distance is to keep people safe, keep us as far away from any potential issues. Again, you heard John earlier say 100% chance of success. We're not going to run into any of those, but just in case something like that comes up, you keep the rockets nice and far away.
How far away are you standing from the rocket?
We're a little bit back from the flight line, so I'd say probably, 550 feet. So sorry to exclude you with this one again, Vienna, anybody else that's not in the U.S., but we're well over a football field away.
So I'd say over 100 bananas away.
Yeah, I couldn't say less. Almost 2 football fields.
Okay, there we go.
Right. From where you're standing, can you see what they're doing now? They've had a look at the back end of the motor.
Okay.
It looks
doing
like
a few more checks there.
Yeah, it looks like they're putting the igniter in right now. So, assuming that means the electronics are on, that means they're about to hop in the truck and come back towards us, and we're going to be ready for the flight. All they got to do is turn that flight card we showed you guys in to the launch control officer, and we got to call in the FAA window we were talking about a little bit ago. But beyond that, this thing's ready to go.
Am I really looking forward to that? That is going to be one heck of a rocket launch.
That's the shot we needed.
That's a money shot, Bill.
Yeah, undoubtedly. This is, like we were talking about earlier with the waiver, the maximum call-in available being 15,000. John actually strategically picked that motor not for the color as much as I love the pink motors. He picked it to get it as close to that waiver window as possible without going over. You don't go over. That ends very badly for you. The FAA will give you a call real fast if that happens.
Well, let's just hope he reaches. Are you putting money on this, Braden? How high is he going to go? I'm going to go with 14,999, just to be really faithful in Pretto's abilities.
That's the FAA correct answer. Honestly, the little bit of breeze, it's a powerful motor in a rocket that's, we said 80 pounds, but that's not that heavy for a high impulse end motor like that. If I had to guess, we're simulating to 14,900. I'm going to say, not because of anything John's done, but just, simulations are simulations and the real world's the real world. I'm going to say 14,215 feet.
All right. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're on Twitter or Instagram, just put in your numbers and let's see who gets the closest. Your grand prize will be Eternal Glory. That is what we can promise you here from the OH Space broadcast. It's Eternal Glory for the closest bet to how far it will really go. We've got the telemetry on the screen there, so we've got a parabola, and it's going to reach the peak and then come down, and we want to see how far it gets to.
Yeah, should we take any bets on how far away it's going to land?
That's a great idea. Let's do a secondary bet. We get 2 Eternal Glories up for grabs. How far away do you think, Braden?
Oh, well, like we were talking about with the winds not looking too bad at the moment, so I'm going to say it's probably going to be within a half a mile. It's a little bit optimistic because it's going up almost 3 miles, so but I think it can get pulled off. Like we were talking to John, the main parachute's not coming out till 1,200 feet, so as long as the drogue parachute keeps it coming down pretty straight, when the big main parachute comes out, we'll hopefully be landing pretty close.
All right. Good.
All right. So half
good?
a mile sounds good.
It sounds like people are getting thumbs up and everything out there, and I'm hearing a lot of you goods with a question mark, so that's usually a good sign, and it's seeming like they're packing up and getting ready to roll back over here.
What's the fastest you can go or longest?
Right now.
Hey, how much time, Chris, do you want on the clock? Let's do 3 minutes?
5.
5 minutes? 5 minutes across the board?
Will that give us 5 minutes to clear the flight line?
5 on the board.
Well, that's not a go time. That's an expiration time, right? Right. Yeah.
So are we good to go right now?
Yeah, they give us a flight window. I can start the airspace whatever time you want.
So right now they're discussing the FAA window that's required. So, like we were talking about, we have to call in a special waiver because of the airport. And what basically happens is you have to have the rocket ready to fly so that you're not bugging the FAA and towers and saying, hey, open this window, and then rocket's not ready, and you go, actually, whoops, can we get that again? Because they'll only give you about 10 to 15 minutes at a time. So we gotta get the rocket ready to fly, and then they gotta call the FAA, get the approval to fly it to the altitude we're going to, and once everything is good on that front, it's going to be go time. All that stand between us and 14,215 feet is a countdown.
You seem pretty confident there, Braden. Well, at least he's got a window of a few minutes, because I do know that with rocket launches around the world, sometimes you have an instantaneous launch window, so it's going to be at an exact time or not at all. And if Pretto wants to aim higher, I think he's
ready to go.
He's going to have to step up his game. So let's listen to the phone call.
Do the honors.
RC3. Arm. Turn that one on first because it takes the longest to cycle up.
Wait for 3 beeps.
So you just heard him say ROC3. That's a rocket recovery controller, the 3rd generation of that altimeter. And that's the altimeter we were talking about that's controlling the flight and everything that you're seeing out there. And they are arming those right now. That's going to control the parachutes and this dual deployment recovery system. So just John being John and being punctual and everything's proper, he's saying things out loud as he does it instead of in his head.
Yep, I heard.
He's already ahead of schedule on things that have cost me rockets in the past.
So you do another continuity check?
Continuity check, of course, checking to ensure that there is proper continuity on the igniter, because nothing's worse than coming back here in the countdown and the rocket not taking off, and you have to walk back out there and figure out what you did wrong. So, but it looks like they're all getting back in the truck and everything's looking good, and we are getting ready, everyone. So we just gotta wait on that FAA phone call, and then it's time to fly this thing. The sun's coming out, the clouds are clearing up, everything is coming together right when we need it to. You don't see this a lot in rocketry, so be grateful you're watching this, because this is not often the experience.
John, what are you feeling right now?
And not with an N-class motor and a pink flame either, Braden.
Yeah, exactly. It really opened up and everything came together specifically for this flight, and I believe that is because it's a pink motor. I'm going to stand by that statement. Pink is probably the best color for a rocket motor flame, and the weather just works around your schedule if you decide to fly one.
Oh, right. So it's got to be a pink flame, nothing else. We've got no other acceptable color here.
Right. Yeah. You gotta go with pink. Blue ones are pretty cool too. You know, there's a lot of cool colors. So I don't want to exclude anyone, but yep, we are trucks rolling back in. So you guys can hear the announcers possibly in the background there. That is not for this flight. We don't want you guys to think that you're going to miss it or anything. Like I said, we still got to wait on that FAA window. But the truck is back. The rocket's on the pad. Electronics are on. And everything is good and ready to go.
He's got a big smile on his face. I'm not sure if that's relief or nerves.
Little butterflies.
Little butterflies, just little ones.
Thank you, brother. Good luck. Thanks. Perfect timing. Hey there, how you doing?
You ready to go, John? He's a little excited walking right past me. I'm not insulted. I have to say, this is a bold play, flying an N motor for level 3. John was level 3 certified before, but generally a lot of people will take it nice and easy, low and slow for a certification flight and just get it out of the way and then go a little bit crazy. But a 6-inch rocket with an N is pretty bold for a level 3, so this is going to be pretty great.
Not our rocket. Not our rocket, everybody.
Gotcha. Right here?
Right there. Right there. Yep, perfect. If you can just lock right there with your feet.
Don't worry, Braden. I've been standing in the same place for a little while too, so.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I was like, wait, I think they're listening to this. Sometimes you gotta spoon feed me directions. I wiggle around a lot.
Was I supposed to stop with you?
Oh, you can? Yeah. You ready to go?
He's been here before. This is our prodigy, rocket flyer.
I was just telling everybody how you were level 3 before, so it's not quite as insane, but a lot of times you don't see people do end motors for level 3s a lot, and certainly not to 5-digit numbers.
Right, yeah. This was supposed to be a little tiny, it's a kit project. My last one was scratch built on a small motor until Mr. Fenwick and Mr. Keenan kicked it up 5 notches.
Nice. So how'd you enjoy the simplicity of that build?
The build's pretty straightforward. Have you built the Dark Star, didn't you?
Yeah, I have the Wildman Ultimate Dark Star,
right.
And I love the Wildman kits. They go together nice and easy.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun, but it is starting from a kit point. Scratch building is great, and it's a lot of fun. And scratch building, for those who aren't aware, is when you start from scratch, you build your own rocket, you design your fins and everything. You can buy kits like the one John's flying for his level 3 today, and just keeps everything nice and simple. If you want a relatively quick build like you did here, you were way ahead of the schedule compared to anything I've ever built. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I built, I'm not working right now. I work from home, so I was able to go in the garage, pour some epoxy, go back to work, come back. So that really helps.
Yeah, that's a nice way to get a rocket done. My last rocket we were talking about earlier, I flew LDRS last year. I'm 26 and I started building when I was 17. So.
Yeah. I've been in rocketry for over 50 years. I started when I was 6. And I had an Honest John, of course, right?
Yep.
My brother had a Big Bertha. My other brother had the one with you put the ants in it. I can't remember what they called it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the clear tube on top. And we used to fly every Saturday out at Votech when it was all desert in the 60s, during the Apollo generation.
Yeah, that's...
Oh, here we go.
We need to make sure we have no aircraft in our airspace where we push the button.
All right, I'm going to go out on the pad.
All right, John, good luck. It sounds like things are getting very, very close here. It's going to be pretty insane.
Big day for you.
Made it, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Should go straight up. I think he's ready. No, you watch it, dude.
Once again, just for you guys, if you're just tuning in, the rocket's on the pad. It's ready to go. It sounds like everything is cleared, so they are about to push the button on this rocket. 30 seconds is what we're hearing, and here we go. 14,215 feet. That's my guess. If you still haven't guessed, throw it in the comments. Let us know what you think this thing's going to do.
Four, three, two, one.
Come on, baby, get up. Come on, burn. Burn.
We've lost continuity on that one. We're going to have to recycle the igniter.
Ah.
There's always things that can go wrong, ladies and gentlemen.
We need an igniter.
This is a fun one that a lot of people in rocketry have experienced many times over.
This.
Ammonium perchlorate.
Yeah.
They lost continuity. That means the igniter did burn, but rocket motor propellant's not the easiest thing to light, and you need to have the right conditions met.
We need
Sometimes
that tube.
this just happens.
Reuse that one. Unless
So
it caught fire on
igniter
the top.
burned out. It's a cheap and simple fix. It's just going to take a couple minutes, but they're going to have to run back out to the pad, pull the old igniter out, put another one in. We like to call it the walk of shame.
I think that rocket was just having a rest. I think it's just
New igniter.
making sure that we're all on our toes.
Yeah, it's got performance anxiety.
That's it. I mean, it's got a lot of eyes on it all around the world.
Oh man, what a classic. Anything that can go wrong will, right?
But the important thing is that we're prepared for it, and it looks like we are. We've got almost completely prepared for it.
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to track down another igniter at the moment. Of course, it being a 98 millimeter motor we were talking about earlier. Very long. You need a long igniter.
New igniter.
It's not something that people just have on hand, but John just said new igniter, so I guess that means someone had one. I'm assuming maybe our friends over at Animal Motor Works.
I have just gotten confirmation that we have over 500 people watching this stream on YouTube. That is just incredible. You've got 500 pairs of eyes on that rocket waiting for it to launch.
Yeah, that's a pretty good turnout. We're happy that you guys are here. And if anybody's got any last-minute questions while we're waiting here, don't hesitate to drop them into the comments.
So, okay, Perry, if this igniter that we pull out is not burning, it could be an issue with their...
Exactly. Continuity is through their wireless transmission. Because we double-checked our continuity.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, it popped. Did it? No, it didn't pop, did it?
It did not pop. But we can put this igniter in. Let's just check the continuity first.
Safe?
All right, so they're going to pull that old igniter out and put another one in.
No, let's do that one. Okay. If she said that works.
You got that little screwdriver for your cap?
Oh, I left it in my bag.
I'm going to get this cap off, Perry.
Nice, the Leatherman.
I need to remove all this plastic.
Just remember that your mic's not okay. I don't know if it'll reach.
I kind of like that idea. Is my mic not hot? So I start cussing?
Choose which one of those you think will work.
I don't care. The littlest one. Just
Look at that.
Wow.
Now, in this particular situation, Vienna, they
This
are
is
asking
common,
which one's
and
going to
we
be
brought
the
this
best
up
igniter to use,
prior
because it
to
sounds
the
like
show
the
that
first one may
these
not have
igniters
burned
don't always
completely.
activate.
My solution in this
They didn't
scenario
work.
is to use both of them.
you have a continuity problem with the...
I think there's a continuity problem between the launch control and this pad. And sometimes it's due to the Wi-Fi signal.
Can we bring
All
the
right,
other
sounds
one
like they're
over?
discussing possibilities for what might have been the reason that day Rocket didn't want to take off.
Can we go to a
I
different...
believe they said they had lost continuity, which is interesting because it sounds like from the discussion that the igniter didn't burn. Sometimes these wireless launch systems will cause you a little bit of trouble. They're super nice to have. You don't have to run a super long wire the entire way out there, but can be a little bit finicky sometimes. So trying to work it all out. Like we were discussing earlier, we've got a fairly narrow FAA window to fly this thing, and it's supposed to get a little bit windy later today. So right now is about as good as we're going to see for the day. So hopefully they can get that igniter recycled pretty quickly and get us back to the flight line and get ready to go in the air.
That makes me nervous. He can't hear you.
Hey. Yeah.
No, he doesn't. Does the clock restart?
What's that?
Bulbous.
15-minute clock?
No, it doesn't restart.
Okay. So we'll just hustle back.
We're good.
Yeah,
We're good.
Okay.
we've got 15 minutes.
Okay.
We would have to recall it in.
Okay, no worries. I don't know how it works, so that's cool.
Do you want that on the rocket? Or do you want it on the pad? I got plenty of tape here.
That will pull right out.
All right. You just need to...
Actually, you know what? He might be right. Let me make that a little looser. There we go. Continuity? Hey, Kendall.
flashing?
No, that's flashing, but you don't have signal on this.
That's a Kindle question.
Kendall.
All right, it looks like they're still trying to get everything out there situated, get a new igniter in there, but
How do we? The igniter didn't even burn.
So should there be a green light for Wi-Fi?
We're red.
sounds like they might be having some issues with that wireless launch system like I was talking about. You never want to see this kind of thing, but sometimes it's just what happens.
Would you like to go to 2?
I know you guys are probably anxiously waiting this rocket launch, as we all are, but there's no exact science when it comes to science.
On both. Okay. I'll leave that unplugged.
Yes.
Okay. I will let Gordon know. Okay.
Oh, that fell off already.
Well, we.
All right.
Now, Braden, I'll have you know that in office hours we answer a lot of troubleshooting questions, so I don't think this is a very foreign concept to John and the rest of us, and I think we're just got to work through it and find out what's wrong and solve the problem.
Well, it looks like you guys do know what you're doing the troubleshooting front, because they are back in the truck and they're on their way back once again, so hopefully we're going to get this thing ready to go again, and this next time it's going off the ground. And I want to reiterate one more time my estimate, just in case it happens to be for some reason is accurate. I need people to be
You've
reminded.
been on screen all day. You've got the eternal glory. I'm sorry, Braden, but
That's all I want.
we'll see if
I'm
somebody
a
else has
numbers
it.
man.
Yeah, that's it. But we've got a question coming in. Are there onboard cameras on the rocket?
Unfortunately, there are no onboard cameras on this flight. As cool as that would have been, as you guys saw earlier with the crew production video, this is already a pretty complex situation we got going on. So as much as I wish there was an onboard video, there is not. All right, the truck is back. Everybody's climbing out. How are we looking, gentlemen?
It did not burn the igniter whatsoever.
So it sounded like you guys were talking about issues with the launch system itself.
The launch control systems for the club were having issues.
Gotcha.
Because the igniter was not burned.
Okay.
So, but we did replace it with a newer igniter.
Right on. All right. Well, that sounds good. Keep everything optimistic, and I think we're gonna see this thing fly.
Sounds great, Braden. I'll stand by.
We're getting ready to go with pad C2.
All right. You should see the countdown clock appearing here shortly. We got approximately 1 minute to launch.
Be John Pretto, Ultimate Wildman on a Cicerone N2200. Predicted altitude 1,200 or 12,000 feet. Nine, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Come on.
Let's go with
Fire, babe.
We have liftoff, everybody. The rocket is off the pad.
All right, you can hear everybody's excited, but as we like to say in the rocketry world, there's the up part, that's the easy part. So now we're waiting for the recovery gear. We can see a very faint smoke trail. We are 14,000 feet up. We should see a little puff, and we just did. We have a drogue event. So, and I can see a parachute. There's a drogue parachute out.
Want to talk to Kendall?
No.
And as you can see there, we've got the left
Not until the
fin
main
wick
opens.
on the screen, showing us exactly where the rocket is in its trajectory.
It's coming down right above us, so we got a beautiful view of that.
Main's out.
Oh, the main parachute is out, as we've just been told. So we're going to be experiencing a lot longer of a wait for that thing to come down.
Does that mean that it's reached its apogee now?
Yep. So the apogee charge, the drogue charge, is supposed to put out a small parachute, and then the electronics control the release of the main parachute at 1,200 feet. Because as you can imagine, putting out a full parachute and bringing it down around 15 feet per second is going to take a long, long time to come down from 14,000 feet. So the good news is you guys can see everything with the telemetry, so you guys get to sit here and wait it out with the rest of us.
That cloud is in the way.
That was a beautiful boost, though. Yeah, I told you, those pink motors, those things are great. Look beautiful.
Cleared the sky right out.
Now, remarkably, even for the main parachute being out up there, it looks like the winds are pretty dang calm, and it's not drifting too far.
Now, are we getting live telemetry of the altitude of the rocket, or are we going to wait until it gets back down?
I'm actually not sure what you guys are seeing, if I'm completely honest with you. So at the very least, I'll have a number for you once it's on the ground. But like I said, that's going to be a little while.
If I'm not mistaken, I can see a left Fenwick graphic put up there with the altitude, and I think we've got 3,902 meters, I'm assuming. But we'll get that clarification. All right. We've got lots of people looking up into the sky waiting for this rocket to float down.
It is super high up and pretty hard to see on camera, so we apologize for that. But once it gets within the scope of something you can see on a camera a little bit easier, you guys will get to see the same thing that we're seeing.
I lost it. I lost it when I moved.
Again, it's coming down real slow because of that main parachute, but it's not drifting too far. What do you think, John?
I can't see it. I lost it. Good job. Nice up, though, huh? That was the worrisome part. I have no idea where it's at. Go in the RV, into the fridge, and get me a champagne.
I've got a couple bottles in the car, too.
Yeah, you should grab one.
Okay.
I'm going to have a swig because my mouth is like desert. I hope you guys see it. You got it, right?
It's actually just about to enter this left contrail, the two thicker ones right here. It's coming down.
So one of the guys in our community modeled the flight in 3D, and he had it landing over there in those mountains.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right where he modeled it,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah, I've got it. It's between there's the two thicker contrails there. I know the cameras are hunting for it, and
I
then
see
you
that.
can see
I got it,
yeah, right towards that thinner
I got
one.
it, yeah.
It's about to drop into that smaller contrail.
John, do we want to go
out there and catch it landing live with these guys? Then let's.
Yeah.
Harry, we're gonna go catch it live from the truck with the crew. If you want to go, we'll get close enough that they can get a shot of it, and then John will come back here and we'll celebrate. We're gonna go eat.
All right. Thanks for coming, dude.
Loved it.
Is that awesome?
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Is this the biggest one you've ever done?
Yeah.
John, we'll bring it back here with that with everybody. You want to go out
No,
there?
we got multiple bottles.
You want to do it out there after we get it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Well.
Okay, great.
All right, John. Loading out. Are you guys going ahead?
All right, like we said, good long wait with the main parachute coming out of the top there, but it's getting closer.
Hey! You want to meet your cousin? Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, good.
I've been here an hour.
Oh. Yo. No, you go.
You're gonna go watch it. You gotta be there. Come on, John. Hey, John. That was super cool.
Oh, hey, buddy. How are you? Good to see you. You guys right back there?
Frantic decisions getting made. It's actually benefiting us that main parachute's out already and giving us a little more working time than you might generally have. If I can say anything about this rocket, it's that it's certainly got a safely sized parachute.
It is. Right ahead, above the mountain.
That might be over. You don't think so?
All right, guys, it's looking like it's just about to touch down. It's getting a little difficult to see with those mountains in the background, but it's coming down nice and slow. And as long as everything's together when they get there. Oh, the rocket has touched down. So now we just got to wait for word that everything's together and everything went well. And then I guess it's time to celebrate from that point.
So we're all biting our nails until the rocket truly hits the ground and we figure out whether John has achieved his level 3 certification. But regardless, I think it's been a wonderful day so far and the rocket just looks spectacular.
Yeah, that was a great boost. Thing took off super straight. Nice loud motor. That was a good motor.
Now I just wish I was there to hear and appreciate the volume of that motor.
Well, like you were saying earlier, you should come out here next year. Maybe we can peer pressure John into flying something even bigger.
Yeah, maybe actually make it to space. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, I mean, if he got his level 3 certification, then sky's kind of the limit. He's got no excuses at that point.
Well, maybe the sky isn't the limit. Maybe space is the limit.
I'm so glad you said that, because as soon as that came out of my mouth, I was like, that's technically wrong.
Aren't you a numbers guy?
Yeah.
All right. They're still, I'm guessing they're still walking out to the rocket and making sure everything's a-okay. And then we'll hear soon whether he's achieved certification.
Yep, they're driving the truck out there. It's Tripoli Vegas is a nice place to fly. For most of the time, you'll see rockets just landing on the lake bed, and you can drive right to them. But if you do go out into the weeds over there where John landed, there's a bunch of dirt roads, and as long as you've got a truck, you can pretty much drive right up to wherever your rocket landed around here.
Well, that's pretty handy. I probably wouldn't want to get there on foot.
Yeah, there's definitely been some long-winded recoveries in my rocketry career, so it's a 10-hour drive for me to get here, but the 10-hour drive saves me from a 3-mile walk. It's pretty worth it.
That is certainly worth it. once we get to the border of the lake bed, what sort of vegetation and what sort of environment do we get after that?
I'm actually not entirely positive what we got out here. It looks like it might be sagebrush, but I wouldn't quote me on that.
As long as it's not painted sagebrush colored, I think we'll be able to find the rocket.
Yeah, that's a classic. See a lot of people paint rockets in camo around sometimes, and not a great call.
Or gray, or blue.
Yeah, you know, I went through a phase where pretty much every rocket I built was blue, and then one day it just clicked that that's the same color as the sky it's going into, and that's when I started painting things orange.
I think orange is a great color, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, it's perfect. It stands out. The parachute that John's rocket was actually recovered on was orange, and we just saw it from whatever the altitude was, 14,215 feet.
Mm-hmm. That is not confirmed, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a confirmation of the altitude. We still haven't got that for sure. But we've got a pretty good guess from a rocket expert right here, so let's see how close his guess was. So I can see some poles sticking up out, like in the desert there. So can you explain what that does?
Yeah, I actually couldn't explain to you what that does. Maybe some power poles or something out there. I got no answers for you on that one.
All right. Well, we'll just accept that it's part of a necessary part of the flight line, and we'll leave it at that.
Yep, required infrastructure is the political answer there.
That's it. But it sounds like we're going to play another video now. Let's roll it.
See, this is the exact reason you guys are really missing out if you didn't come out to Las Vegas, and the exact same reason there's hundreds of people out here right now. It's a great experience to have, and we highly recommend if you have a rocket launch in your area, you can check AAA.org or NAR.org and go see this for yourself in person. It's a good time.
That's definitely on my to-do list.
Yeah,
I've never actually been to the States, so I'm keen to go out and see the Las Vegas and the desert too.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty beautiful scenery out here, and like we were talking about, it's pretty perfect for rockets. About as good as it could get.
And as you can see there with the video, looks like that was the dinner time before the actual launch, and looks like a lot of the OH team were getting together and having a good time, relaxing and preparing for the day ahead. And speaking of which, we did have a question asking, what does OH Space stands for? That's Office Hours Space. So Office Hours is a broadcast and a project that was started by lots of people all around the world. You can look that up at officehours.global. And Pretto just happened to be a member of Office Hours, and so did a lot of other people who are supporting him here today. And that's where OH Space comes from. But it's a nice sense of community there, and I think, Braden, you'd probably agree that one of the best parts of rocket launch is the people that are there to support you and help make it happen.
Absolutely. The rocket people are some of the nicest people. Just last night, my cousin flew a rocket, and we were trying to situate getting a tool for adjusting the motor ejection delay, and we didn't find one. We found somebody who knew how to do it manually, and he set it up for us. But I could pretty much guaranteed we could have walked up to a perfect stranger, never met him before in my life, and if they had one, they would have handed it to us and said, just bring it back when you're done. And that's kind of just how it goes around here. Rocketry stuff, I wouldn't advise not coming prepared, but if you do have something missing, there's almost guaranteed to be somebody here who will help you out.
That's pretty cool. And I'd imagine that would be an aspect of many hobby groups, is that you're all there for the same reasons. You've got this common interest, and you've got this community that keeps you together. And I think it's really important to continue with that community, because it'd be pretty boring doing a rocket launch on your own. And it's probably a great way to make friends, which is how I've met some of the people here on office hours. So hopefully I'll be there for the next rocket launch and meet all of our friends there in person. But it does sound like a great community. It's a wonderful combination of art and science in a way.
Yeah, it's great. It's, just like you were saying with any hobby group, and you can pretty much transcend everything from countries and politics and everything else, and everybody plays along pretty nicely in general. So it's an occasion you don't get to see often in the world this day and age, so it's a pretty exciting thing to be a part of.
It is super exciting. And I really like hearing people's stories of how they came to be where they were. And you said you've been launching things since you were 6. So what's your origin story, Braden?
Yeah, I built my first model rocket with my dad when I was a couple little breaks in between here and there. But yeah, that puts me about 20 years of flying rockets, and I don't have any intentions of stopping anytime soon.
Hey, Braden?
Right.
Yeah.
So, my name's Chris. I've been in a trailer for a while. This is what we're going to do. It's kind of a tough call. They can't find the rocket yet. They can't find it. We're looking for it. We're going to produce another video that will play in the next day or two of them actually recovering it. But we don't want to make you hang around forever. And I don't know. It's sometimes hard to find, yeah?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And it's... the GPS signal got lost, huh?
In Ky Michaelson, he told us a story about it taking him a couple of days, and all they ever found was the nose cone. So, we're going to make you another video. Right now, we're going to roll some credits, and Doug is responsible. Everybody's pointing at something. You saying I just want to talk to this camera? Okay, I got it. I got it, guys. I got like 13 directors here telling me I don't know what I'm doing.
I'm so glad you had that thought, too.
Roll some credits, roll some music. You guys have a great rest of your day. And thanks for being with us and watching. Take care. Thanks, man.
Space Vegas to Australia tracking. Are you go for launch?
They're asking about some gopher thing. Hey, Brian, do you know anything about this gopher business?
Are you out to lunch?
Yeah, nah, mate. Not with me. Ask Mike.
A gopher? Mate, you think I would have noticed a gopher?
Didn't Vienna have one this morning?
I don't know, mate.
What's that, Skip? Vienna said some guy from the crocodile park came in and took it for a checkup.
You lot'll never light that candle now, 'cause I've got your precious gopher. Crikey, he's a feisty little fella. Anyway, you'll never find him. Really? Now? Mate. Control. Give us a tick. I'm going to have to get back to you on this.